You have been a very good friend of the current government, and you champion it a lot. Ambassador here says there's a gap in terms of good governance. Do you share the same opinion?
You know, governance is available at county level and also at national level.
Yes.
Something happened to this country way back when we got the new constitution that came with it an independent judiciary, that came with it an independent police service, and multiple independent commissions to solve our problems.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we grew up to this level, still carrying the old mentality that the president is all-powerful and can do everything. That is where we find ourselves in, that there is a case that should be strictly handled by the judiciary, and you see we are petitioning the president and even threatening to go to the streets. There's a case that should be handled by IEBC, then we still threaten the president and want to go to the streets. Even those that are crimes committed by the police. You know, today, if you are the principal of a school or the vice chancellor of a university, and a student or a lecturer commits a crime within, that is not your responsibility. He must take responsibility as an individual. But nationally, every mistake committed by members of the public, civil servants, all of it you want to heap in on the president. In fact, incidentally today, even those that took place before the president came to power, like joblessness in this country, we want him either to solve it overnight or he takes the responsibility and go home. And the problem we have in a society like ours.
But he's the CEO, right, of the country?
Of course he's the CEO.
Yes.
He can take responsibility for doing it for not what has been done by people who are not him. If you see him punish those who have committed crimes and you still want him to go home because those crimes were committed, I think that is not very fair.
But Mr. Dale, when you see a developed democracy, for example, the United Kingdom, the United States of America, if, for example, you are a minister or you are cabinet secretary and something happens in your docket that tarnishes the name of the docket, you resign.
You resign if you had not put policies that are correct to that. If there is nobody else who can be held accountable for that mistake, then you resign. But if there is somebody who has committed that mistake, individually and personally, he has to take responsibility. But you remember sometimes we misuse this resigning. There was a time here when President Uhuru Kenyatta was the president and Raila Odinga was the handshake partner. Then there was somebody called the Commissioner of Prisons. A prisoner escaped in committee at night. At 9 a.m., his replacement had arrived in his office, complete with uniform and insignia, showing the rank. Do you think that was fair? First of all, you know very well that somebody knew in advance that somebody would escape, so we go and fire the commissioner. He has to resign. A commissioner. How would he even know that there's laxity in committee at that night if it has not been there? So there are times we misuse such. We demand that people resign. There was also a time that there was a problem with the ferry, if I am not wrong. The next day, Uhuru fired the board and the chair, everybody else. Yet you see, in these things, for example, Kenya Ferry Services is a parastatal.
Yes, yes.
There is a board which consists of directors. Then there is the management, which consists of the executive. So the board directs, the executive executes.
Yes.
So if there is a policy already in place and the executors failed, why do you fire the board? So sometimes this thing of resign if things have gone wrong is being misused by people who want others out. And one of such, I believe, if there is any problem, even in Kenya today, let's correct it. Rather than telling people to go home, sometimes you are telling them to go home, and if they tell you, okay, I am going tomorrow, you have no idea who is going to replace them. I had a conversation with the Gen Zs, some 2 of them, and they told me, we are going to have the president go home.
Yeah, so give us the potentials.
And we don't care who is going to replace him. But I said, what about if so-and-so replace him? No, we'll make sure he doesn't. I said, you are incapable of even ensuring who becomes your MCA. You are now telling me how you'll ensure who becomes the president. So that is the problem we have. So let us be a country of order, a country of reconciliation, and a country of getting leaders to account for their actual mistakes.
Under one